Sup, boys? It's the fucking WhatsApp immediately. It's the final phase. We're in the home stretch now. You shouldn't be worried about. There's going to be a lot of moments throughout this where, even though we're home stretching it, we are just going to have to hard sack DPS. There's going to be one moment that's going to make both blue and red team sob profusely, but you know, as with this entire boss, we don't give a shit about your output. Like, any conversations about I'm losing DPS are very much like, I can't hit my protein. It's just worthless. Like, we just have to do the pre-movements and shit to make sure we're exercising this boss properly, or like exercising all the mechanics on this boss properly. Honestly, this is just using shit that we've already learned. There's just some additional steps that you're going to want to keep in mind. It's going to very much show if people haven't prepped, if they have issues with some of the shit we're dealing with here. But I'll try and keep it quick. The only other thing I'll say is that this guide is really, really fucking good. I'll timestamp the P3 stuff so that you have a sort of visual demonstration of what's going on. And then I'll also link the Dracnos one as well, which is not quite as good, but whatever. Where were we? We went on the Warhammer shit. Cool, so start P3. We've just ended the intermission. I don't really know where we're going to be in terms of sides of the boss, but it doesn't really matter. I think every VOD I've seen does have the team sort of ending here, based on like, but it ultimately is just kind of down to the damage that you do through the intermission. But as long as we're approximately close to these two marks, we'll just move to start on them as the third phase is starting. So the first step, she's going to teleport away, and we're going to be able to see where she teleports in advance, where she's facing. There's going to be a black cloud on the floor that we're going to be pinging. Red, once she's teleported, you're going to want to shift over. You're going to want to stand to the left of the boss, facing her. Bait a frontal that is going to come out to you, and then shift in to the wall with your backs to it. Blue, we're going to drift over a little slower and a little bit later and be positioned on the opposite side of the boss. After this, we have a web vortex. Now, there's a special rule set here, which we already talked about yesterday, but obviously the big challenge with this phase is managing charges without web bombs and managing overlaps of the dispel mechanic and the charge. So we need to keep our webs from, or our web lines from this pull-in mechanic instead. I don't know if I used web vortex rather than bomb before, that doesn't matter. So basically, the pull-in. If you know the standard rule, the first group that gets pulled in will go left, right. Shut the fuck up, WhatsApp. The second group will go straight through. On this set, red will need to keep their webs. So what does that mean? If they're pulled in first, they're all going to go right, as it says here. If they are pulled second, they can just stay in the mid and go straight through as normal. That's just absolutely fine. What we're going to do, contrary to the raid plan here, is blue can actually backstep a little bit the melee boss into the middle of the room, so it'd be more like here, so that our orbs, when we get pulled in, are towards the center, because red are about to be tripping in the center anyway. So I'll just repeat the special rule. On this set, and this happens twice in the phase, if red are pulled in first, they will all go right together so that they keep their web lines and they don't snap them. If they're pulled in second, they'll just go straight through, and they'll come through to the middle here. So blue orbs. Blue, our rule's just the same as always. Left, right if we're first, and straight through the middle if we're second. That's all good. So what happens next? There's then a charge. Red have moved into the middle of the room, and they're going to be tripping up. One note on these charges to remember is that, we always need 3. We're going to have 5 as long as everybody's alive. We are still going to play with everybody tripping. It minimizes the risk of losing pulls to... it minimizes the risk of losing pulls to somebody dropping at the last second. It also means we don't have to adapt to if we have fewer lines than usual because of deaths or whatever. There's no pre-assignments, just everybody in red is tripping. If I ever see anyone intentionally break their webs, I will do my best to replace you on the bus forever, because like that's the most cancer thought I've ever seen, and I've seen some raid leaders complaining about it. You're all just tripping here, and there are redundancy lines, even though it's going to feel like a waste of time. The only other note is that, remember, he always goes a little bit further than the line that tripped him, so if this was correct, for example, it would be the case that when the third line tripped him here, he'd actually end in the middle. This is a really good bit of tech. Like, whenever you're tripping him, we want to aim to dump him in the middle of the room as best as possible, so having the lines inside this circle, but towards the edge of it, no matter what the orientation of the charge is, we'll dump him in the middle and mean that we can get more cleave when we're dealing with dispels and shit. So yeah, that's cool. Blue, we're just being chill guys out on the side and watching our red buddies be impressive and do that. Right. Sad moment incoming. Skyn will then teleport after we've tripped. Red, you, as soon as she teleports, are moving. That's going to mean you lose a lot of time on the melee boss's damage amp. I'm sorry. As the raid plan says here, deal with it. We need you to be pre-positioned for the coming web vortex pull that's coming. So, and again, like this as this says here, this cast is once the stun is over. So as soon as we lose the damage amp, that cast happens. Neither group gets full uptime on this thing. That's a shame, but it's got to be done. Oh my god, fuck me. You know, it just appeals to the general thing of, if you care about your individual DPS on this boss, you're just valuing the wrong shit. The aim is to kill this boss, right? Which means we just need to do the movement that we need to do. So Red, as soon as she teleports, you will be moving, and you'll be going to the far side of her, wherever she's teleported. So if it's down here, you'll be going there, like, you know, out to her left side. If she goes up here, you'll be going across her to her right side. Meanwhile, Blue, we will still move during the DPS amp. We will lose damage on this too. We'll start moving during the expose as soon as it's safe to do so, and we'll be going to whatever the closer side is. Then we deal with this vortex, and these are the same rules as normal. This is just first group left, right, break. Second group straight through, break, soak each other's orbs. No special rules here, it's all good. As she's against this wall, once that pull-in's done, she's going to start a dispel mechanic. We can get one dispel done out here, and then the next 4 are going to be done in the middle of the room. So the first one should be... We can actually delay the first one a couple seconds too. It doesn't have to be a super rush. It actually adds more pressure to getting the second one done in time if we insta-dispel the first. So ideally we would wait a couple of seconds, then have the first one dispelled against the wall, while second on this set pre-moves into the middle of the room to start the following dispels. Same rules as always here. You're valuing getting this done over anything else. Make sure you're under the fucking boss. We don't want to lose too many pulls to people not making it and whatever. And then the only other thing really is that there's just a lot of shit happening. So as this note says here, there is no like laxity for it jumping in this mechanic set. We do need to just get all 5 correct. So drifting under Skyn, the tall boss, Bish is messaging me now, I'm getting barraged, is going to cause a wipe. Like, we do have to be really conscious here. Once she teleports, both groups are going to follow her, because we're bringing the melee boss anyway. Both groups are going to follow her into the middle, just sticking to the sides of the boss that we're on. Cool. We've done 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're all good to go into the next mechanic set, which is basically just a full repeat of everything we've seen, but there's an overlapping set of mechanics therein. So first, it's the same shit as before. Skyn will teleport again. Red will move first. They will move to her side, the left side ideally. They will bait a frontal. They will then move against the wall with their backs to it. Blue will follow, and again, ideally leave their orbs somewhere towards the middle. So I'll edit this in the raid plan. The reason we want to move our orbs somewhere towards the middle is because a charge is happening again, so we will be backtracking out to sort of make this easy for the red team. This set of web vortexes here is special rule again. It is the red need to keep, so you will, if you are pulled first, will all go right. If you are pulled second, you will go straight through, and again, just holding your orbs. Then we get to the sort of overlapping set. Again, every red pair tries to stop this charge. The aim is to stop him in the middle, so this raid plan's kind of shit for that. We'd ideally want these lines to be towards the edge of the circle again, so that when he gets stopped, it's actually just a little bit past the webs and actually in the middle of the room. And yeah, that's kind of it in terms of how that works. Once he's charged, you guys are going to go through the boss to make room for us to catch up. So, there's going to be a lot for me to say all at once here. It's really important that you guys keep your head screwed on yourselves as to what the movement is, because it's going to be a hell of a lot easier for us to prog this if I don't have to micromanage every bit of movement you do. Red autonomously getting the fuck out of the way and moving through will help both groups with the cleave to come. And then we have the final set of dispels, which is the exact same again. It is one dispel done against the wall. That will be a blue, so we don't, because of the dispel priority weaker thing, so we don't have to worry about the fact that red might want to get there. And that has been happening while red are tripping. So like as red are tripping here, blue are already working on the dispels out here. Again, part of the reason for having every red involved is because the dispels are doing raid-wide AoE, and like having a wipe to losing a web pair, and we've only kept 3 there is going to be fucking cancer, right? We do 1 here, 2 will start positioning towards the center as best they can, and then get dispelled as she teleports in, and then we're cranking through 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. Both of them have a damage amp at the same time at this moment. So Pog, you know, like the damage will be quite immense. It'll be better to be damaging her and cleaving onto the melee one, because his damage reduction will be, his damage amp will be both lower and end sooner. But at this point we're just juicing the boss, and if we get to a point where they're both stunned in the middle of the room as we're cleaving them, we have seen the end of the fight. This was the old last spot because of that like sick double cleave, but the sort of as we sort of talked about yesterday, the logic of doing it when you have more people up is just more valuable anyway. After this, the reason the raid plan doesn't really factor this in is because you're kind of functionally done on mechanics. Because of the stagger we've done to the intermission, there will be an enrage coming up, but the boss's actual mechanics are staggered back such that the mechanics they would do as they enrage are actually pushed back another 10 seconds. So we might see the enrage, really depends on our damage. At that point, Aloyn and I will just call for externals and try our best to stay alive. We have about 8 to 10 seconds, I think it is, before Stinging Swarm happens. I don't remember if that's what it's called, but basically his big just AoE pulsing damage thing that the melee guy does. That's the first moment where we'll start getting seriously ticked by mechanics, and that's the actual enrage. So that should be more than enough time to sort of kill the boss. Cool, and what a Pog moment it will be. Right. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that killing this boss feels very gratifying. I'm looking forward to killing Ansarek. Woo! See you tonight.